because we don't understand how life formed. It is difficult to estimate this probability. The likelihood of a complex molecule like DNA being created by random collisions of atoms in a primordial ocean is fantastically small. In an infinite universe, it would happen in some places, but they would be very far apart. If we want to find advanced intelligent life, our best bet is to listen for radio signals.
Look up to the stars and the forests that surround. Do you see them? Do you hear them? Are they there? SpacedOutRadio.com presents S4 with Forest Moon Paranormal's Eric Cooper and friends. Also, take the time to join the Forest Moon Paranormal Facebook group.
I knew I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque.
Conspiracy, Area 51, Dogman, Ghosts, Cover-Ups, UFOs. The hidden will reveal itself.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go live on S4 with Eric Cooper.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to S4 with Eric Cooper, broadcasting live from the beautiful mountains of Concrete, Washington. And now, without further ado, your host, Forest Moon Paranormal Zone, Mr. Eric Cooper.
Hey, evening, S4ians, and beautiful wet mountains of Concrete, Washington. Oh my God, it's like flooding season. And like Cat 1 winds, and, well, not so much right now, but it's supposed to get worse tonight. Anyway, so how's everyone doing tonight? So the views and opinions of S4 do not reflect that of Spaced Out Radio, our affiliate, or the KTLK, the Fringe FM, who we are on the family of. Make sure you go tune in and listen to them, Spaced Out Radio, every night from 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to midnight with Dave Scott, and on weekends with Dave Cruz and Elizabeth Englund on Sundays. So, if you're local, on Saturday, the 28th, we will be having a paranormal Q&A with Forest Moon Paranormal at the Mortar and Pestle Apothecary in downtown Mount Vernon, Washington. So don't miss out. It's from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And it's going to be fun. And tonight, without further ado, we are going into the Halloween Roundtable. Now, next weekend, we're having the Forest Moon Paranormal's Halloween show. So don't miss Halloween. It's my favorite season. And before we can really get into it, so as you all know, if you're new, Roundtable, we have a panel with Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio. We have R. Keith Andrews from ET Connection. We have Everett Thiemer from Spaced Out Radio Newswire. We have Corey and I from Forest Moon Paranormal. And what we do, we bring 3 questions. Nobody knows what the questions are. It's all blind. And we bring them to the panel. Now, tonight's going to be paranormal and Halloween-based. So, without further ado, how's everyone doing tonight?
Not bad at all, thanks. How about you?
I'm just happy to be here. Thank you for the invite.
It's always fun to be here.
Well, just like with you on Spaced Out Radio, Roundtable's kind of the unwind, kickback. We do rants. We do get into some pretty hot topics when we're doing the Roundtable as well. But it's always fun. And, the joy of this crew is we can disagree politely. We don't get into hot, arguments and pissing contests and whatnot. We're friends, so we have fun debating them. And if you're in the chat room, make sure you post your questions, because your questions do take priority as well, in caps, so that we can see them. So, Corey, what's your first question tonight? We're going to start with you tonight.
Okay. Yeah, of course you had to do that, as I'm in the middle of trying to do 6 things here at once. But, okay. So I'm going to kind of look at things here from the pagan side of Halloween just a little bit, and this one kind of runs at you a little bit, and we'll get opinions and stuff from everyone else that goes around the table. The history of Halloween goes long way back, further than most people think. I mean, it goes all the way back to Ireland, long before it was called Halloween. But it's I know that it's a big thing for pagans and witches, as kind of a New Year thing almost. So why don't you kind of give us a little bit of an insight there of how that works and what that actually is.
Okay. Oh God. Let's see. Now I'm already tired. I gotta think here how to say this intelligently. So we have 8 Sabbats, and it really doesn't matter. Now, to define what a pagan is all earth-based, polytheistic. Not always polytheistic. Some of them are monotheistic. By polytheistic, for those who don't understand what that means, there's multi-deities, whether it's a god or a goddess. Now, all witches are pagan, and that's an argument with pagans as well. But you got witches and you got Wiccans. Wicca was actually established in about 1947, but not all witches are Wiccan. Wiccan is a very dogmatic. Everybody starts out Wiccan, and then they find out what their true path or calling is. But it doesn't really matter what pagan belief you follow. You all follow a basic 8 Sabbats or holidays, which Halloween, otherwise known as Samhain, it's spelled S-A-M-H-A. It's spelled like Sam Hain, but it's actually pronounced Samhain, and it is Celtic. It's basically All Saints Day or All Saints Eve. So what some pagans do is they'll have what's called a dumb dinner, and it's basically honoring your passed on loved ones or friends from that year. Now, if you want to get into the more specific details about Samhain, so you have 3 harvest festivals. One is called Lammas, and that's August 1st. And that's your bread and wheat harvest. Then you have Mabon, which is September 22nd. That's more of your vegetables and your garden is at full peak. Then you have Samhain. Samhain is your meat harvest, and that's basically the end of our year. So the military has the end of the fiscal year is October as well. Pagans have the end of their year in October also, and that's Samhain. So Samhain, as many believe, is when the veil thins and spirits cross over easier. I kind of don't walk that line so much because, and I've said on the show before, we don't see a spike in paranormal cases because the veil is thin. We're busy year-round, 24/7, 365 days a year. Doesn't really matter about Halloween or Samhain. But getting back to the pagan side, it is the day that you honor the dead. You have a dumb dinner. You actually, your family will sit down at the table and they'll put out empty plates around the dinner. And those are for the spirits. So that sums it up in a nutshell. Is there a blood sacrifice? No. Is there witches running around naked in the woods? No. You know what? It's too damn cold for that. Some of them do. But no, for the most part, there are some groups that do skyclad, and that's where they run around naked in the woods. But it isn't overly common. Just have to throw out some misconceptions there. And also, we don't believe in the devil. The devil is actually, the Christians and the Muslims are the ones that have the devil, or Satan, or Lucifer, whatever you want to call him. He's not a part of any kind of pagan pantheon. Anyway, any other questions? By all means, ask. Anyone else have any input?
You know, I had a thought there, which is rare for me in the first place. But no, where it comes to Halloween, I always I heard somebody talk about years ago about it also being an issue with it being a contract with the demons. And we can get into the debate as to what a demon is later. But what's your take on the issue around it being a contractual agreement aside from just the honoring the dead?
I don't believe in that. Because, again, what is a demon? A demon is a negative entity, and most of your pagans don't work with or deal with negative entities other than removing them. You do have your darker side. Some will call it the left-hand path. There's no such thing as a white witch or a dark witch or a black witch. A witch is a witch. It's all energy work. Everyone works with the same energy. So just to throw that misconception out, because I get in that discussion with pagans. I'm a white witch. Really?
Well, if I were, in all fairness, if I were a witch, I'd be a white witch. Of course, I'm white, so that would explain that in a hurry. Okay, well, to clarify, it's about your intention, whether you're white or dark or, whatever. And that goes to the Wiccans. The Wiccans have what's called the rule of three. Do as you will, but harm none. It's basically the same as the golden rule. And, I've gotten into discussions and debates and been attacked for being pagan and being in the military by pagans. How can you be in the military and be a pagan? What about harm none? And then they run away before I can explain anything. It's like, are you serious? And, well, most of your harm none comes down to magical work. Are you going to curse another witch? No, you're not, because if you curse another witch, you're actually harming your own energy. And then it comes down to karma. We could discuss this all night, but that's it in a nutshell. Yeah. One thing
do witches make do witches make contracts with demons? No, they don't.
Yeah, Cooper, because you're a pagan, I have a question to maybe get your perspective on Halloween. So many people talk about the commercialization of Christmas and how it's lost its original meaning. How do pagans view Halloween in light of the commercialization of it?
You know what? And it's funny you bring that up because I walk in Walmart and I see more Christmas stuff out than I do Halloween. Almost. I mean, you still have the Halloween. You still have a huge Halloween selection, but they're already starting Christmas advertisements and
And I mean, they keep. It seems like commercialization keeps bringing Christmas stuff earlier every year. And do I like the commercialization of it? Not really. And what do? There's not really much you can do. We do what we do and let them do what they do. We take our kids trick-or-treating. Halloween night is, that's for the kids. If we do our own ritual or our own thing, that's done with the family, and our kids will not go to school on October 31st. So that we can do our own, family celebration.
Yeah, the way things are going, I think they're going to have Christmas, the next Christmas already starting in February here before too long.
Well, I know they're all rained into July, I think.
You guys are making me think I'm wrong for already working on my Christmas display.
Well,
are you serious?
Let me put it this way.
It's not even Indigenous Native Day yet. Oh, wait, Indigenous Peoples Day.
Here's the thing. If you want to work on your display, that's fine. In my house, as far as that goes, you don't touch Christmas until the beginning of December, except where it comes to lighting, sometimes it's necessary to get them hung. Don't plug them in, but get them hung up before the snow flies or before it gets too freaking cold.
I love Halloween. Halloween is my favorite of the whole year. Christmas, I could do without it, to be honest.
See, I love Halloween, but we've
quick,
never had... We don't get trick-or-treaters.
Are you serious? Well, we're up in the mountains, and even if we got trick-or-treaters, well, we're not home. But no, Don's got a question about taking the kids out. As far as taking the kids out of school, we don't have to, in our school district, we don't have to explain nothing. We just say, look, we're taking the kids out of the school for the day. Now, when they get a little bit older, we might have to explain, but they are in kindergarten and first grade. So as far as the school goes, they don't ask. If they did ask, hey, it's a religious holiday for us. And they won't question it. If they do, I've got a lawyer, and so does Dave. And yeah, we've got a lawyer. So by all means, you know what? If they wanted to raise it, and actually, Forest Moon Paranormal's headquarters group is Forest Moon Grove, which is a legal pagan church. I am ordained pagan clergy. Therefore, and I have taken constitutional law. So we have a little bit of a backing. So and that goes for any pagan, and that goes for any pagan that's listening. We deal specifically with military pagans, which are very hard to find anymore because of politics. And we deal with homeless. We deal with a whole lot of social issues involving the pagan community. So just wanted to throw that out there. And yeah, I don't even know where I was going, but yeah, it is a very pagan holiday, and it is interesting that you see other religions that jump on board and have harvest festivals and whatnot. If you're really against a pagan holiday, why would you even bother with a harvest festival?
It's a reason for a party.
But they're, in essence, still endorsing a pagan holiday.
Yeah, but, there was a time when any reason to drink was a good one. It started off with I was conscious.
Yep. That's
but
true.
Hasn't Christianity essentially borrowed holidays from other religions, especially pagan religion, and sort of adopted it and made it their own?
Almost every single one of them.
Exactly.
You just happen to open that door, don't you? Why
of course
did you
I
open that door?
Because I like opening doors.
Since you opened that door, technically, Jesus Christ was born in March. He wasn't born in December. If you look at, oh my God, I've gotten in this discussion with a lot of people. You got to remember, and for the ones that don't know my background, just because I'm pagan, I've been in a witch for over 20 years, but I was born and raised as Assembly of God. I went to Christian school, Jim Sawyer Bible College, and the list goes on. I've been very well immersed in Christianity, And I've been pretty immersed in Islam as well when I was in Iraq. And, I had 2 years to work with Muslims. So I know both religions pretty well. And contrary to many people's beliefs, they do go hand in hand. They are very parallel beliefs. Just like Native Americans are very parallel with pagan beliefs. I would never call them pagan because they have their own standards and they have their own belief system, basically. But it's very parallel to pagans. So, Yule, or the winter solstice, is December 21st. And that is our Christmas. That is our Sabbath. Now, as far as my family goes, we celebrate both because we keep the kids. Basically, we will. They know we're pagan. They call themselves witches. Do they really fully know what that means? Not really, because they're 5 and 6. But at the same time, they can go to Sunday school with Grandma. We have no problem with that. Now, the day they come home in tears and say, "Mommy, Daddy, are going to hell," we're going to have an issue. But as far as them making up their own minds, no, we immerse them in whatever religion they ask about. I have no problem with that. I won't force religion down my kid's throat. I don't believe anyone should force their own religion. And, you want to talk religion, and that's not what the show's about, but people that take their babies to be baptized in church, would you see that as forcing that religion on their baby?
No, I actually see it as a waste of time. And don't get me wrong, I'm Christian, but the reality behind that is you can't get baptized till you're an adult. You can be dedicated, but you sure can't be baptized.
Right. Well, I'm talking more, I think it's the Catholics that sprinkle the baby's head.
It is.
Okay.
See, I was actually baptized Roman Catholic. Primarily because, well...
Before we get too deep into the religious part of it, I'd like to reel her back to the Halloween part of it a little bit. About the one person I haven't heard...
Let me clarify one more thing.
All right.
Easter. This is the last one I'm going to bring up. Easter is actually what we call Ostara, and it's actually a fertility celebration. Now, was Christ crucified on the cross for Easter? That's debatable. But it is also a pagan holiday. Anyway, okay, go ahead, Corey.
So, the one person that I haven't heard from here yet is Dave. I mean, give us your initial thoughts on Halloween and what you think.
I am so out of the loop when it comes to paganism. I actually feel a little bad. I was hoping that you had lost me. So, I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I use it in our family. It's always been for Halloween tradition of taking the kids out for trick-or-treating and dressing up in costumes. I've never, honestly, until I met Cooper, realized or even knew that it was a pagan tradition and a very religious type date for the pagans. So, I don't have any problem with anybody, celebrating the way they want to celebrate. I do find it funny that, if we go along the religious side, that a lot of Christians will absolutely degrade people in other religions for celebrating holidays. So, for instance, I grew up in a very religious town, and you could sure tell on Halloween night who went to church and who didn't because their lights were off early, and, I mean, never mind what it could signify. I think it's more about, in my opinion, children for the most of us, and having a night to dress up in costume. However, I can say I had numerous nights in downtown Vancouver, sitting at the Roxy during my radio days, watching the starlets come in their short skirts, their thigh-high stockings, and their high heels looking like a nurse. It was fantastic. I never minded that. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, Dave, you're going to love what my boy is going to dress up for Halloween. He wants to be an alien.
Nice. Well, my little guy is an alien of sorts as well. as
yeah,
little SOR has decided that he is going to be Optimus Prime.
Yeah,
there you go.
Nice.
Yeah. So he's been running around his costume every day.
We got Anthony. It's a gray mask. He looks like a gray.
Nice.
I think
it's funny because we usually wind up spending $100 on their stinking costumes, but we actually got both of their costumes for under $20 at Value Village. It was amazing.
Excellent.
We didn't have to go overboard this year.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it. Value Village has some incredible prices where it comes to Halloween.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, they do.
So this year, I think I'm actually going to dress up and do some stuff. I'm going to have this nice black cloak robe thing. I've got red contacts that kind of glow under a black light. I'm going to have white face paint, and black face paint, and some gnarly looking fangs. Why not? Because it's fun.
Let me ask all you guys this. I was looking at this the other day and I realized I'm 44 years old. And in my entire life, I'm saying my entire adult life, you know, you watch TV or you look on social media, there's everybody having these Halloween costume parties. And the only one I've ever been invited to, I got sick at, and 2 days later I woke up with half my face paralyzed with Bell's palsy. And I'm wondering, have you guys ever been in that circle where you've actually been invited to Halloween parties?
Oh, yeah.
It's been so long, I don't even remember.
Years ago, I used to go on a regular basis to full-blown costume parties. It was bad one year because we were dressed up in, various states of disarray, zombies and vampires and warriors and what have you. And then we had a rather severe accident outside the place, outside our house. And of course, a bunch of us with some sort of medical background go running out to help with the accident. Well, the EMTs, sad to say, had a heck of a time trying to figure out who was actually hurt and who was in makeup.
Right.
I don't know. It's one of those things that's just been bothering me lately. That I, like even up here, there's no Halloween parties that I know of. Nobody does Halloween parties up here. And I'm kind of bored with it.
You're more than welcome to come to ours.
We actually we went to our first ever witches ball, and it's all pagans. And it is a masquerade ball. And they actually do a ritual, and it's the one that we actually went to. I guess, Izzy and I went to one about 5 years ago, and they actually did a ritual to Letha. Now, if you're familiar with who Letha is supposed to have been the first wife of Adam and the mother of demons, or the goddess of demons,
also known as Lilith.
Lilith, there you go. I'm like I said, my brain is. I had a migraine this morning, and actually had 2 migraines back to back, so I'm not thinking straight. Yeah, Lilith. That's what I'm trying to say. And it was a very, very unique, very interesting ritual they did. One guy actually fell down. It's like, interesting. But yeah, they actually have witches balls here in the Tacoma area. There's a group that puts it on. I don't think they do it anymore because, frankly, the pagan communities, a lot of them have gone back into hiding because of the administration we have, partially, and the attacks on the LGBT community, which a lot of the LGBT community are pagan. Not all of them, but because of the acceptance of people in general within the pagan community, they are welcome. So, and there's even rumors about witch killers up here in the concrete area. which I don't have any validation to that, but you just have to be careful with extremist groups today, because a lot of them are so extremist that they will try to kill off pagans. So, I think they've stopped doing witch balls, but which is sad because they are quite interesting. But as far as parties go, you know what? I've never really been to a major Halloween party.
Yeah, I mean they're a lot of fun, but the fact is, if you're not having them up there, personally, if you really want one, throw one and invite a bunch of other people and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Now, my boy told me, he goes, "Daddy, you got to be a soldier." Like, okay, I can get on board with that. So I'm wearing my SUs. I actually had to go online and buy a beret because I haven't had a beret in years. So I went ahead and got my patches and my beret, and I'll go full out soldier for Halloween when they're trick or treating.
Well, that's a good one.
So what are you going to decorate? Are you going to decorate? Or put on a costume, Keith?
In all fairness, nope. And how's that for subtle? No, the reality is, I'm going to end up working that night anyway. Right. So I'll send my boy over to his mom's, and she'll take him out. She'll take him out trick or treating and what have you. But I don't get the day off.
Okay.
Yeah. And since I live in an apartment, I don't have people knocking on my door very much.
I think Dave needs to go as Bigfoot.
Dave doesn't do costumes.
If Dave was gonna do a costume, though, what would Dave do?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Well, considering there's many people out there who have, I'd probably throw a guitar around my shoulder and go as Slash or something along those lines. That always seems fun.
I could see you doing that.
Yeah, I'm that guy, right? I'm that guy. I would totally do that. Totally do that. But if I did, that's probably where I would go with it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
How about you, Themer?
Okay, moving along. I don't want to see Themer decorating. Are you going to put on a costume, Themer?
Oh, of course. I'm either going as Ozzy Osbourne or Sven Gulli, TV host.
That'd work. I don't know. I'm always some dark stuff when I go. I don't know why it is. Maybe it's just my shady side or something, I guess. I don't know.
When I went straight into becoming a recluse, and I did it rather well. The trip down to the Paracon there a couple of weeks back, essentially it's the first time I've been out of the house in over a year. Really. There's a reason I avoid people. But there is something I wanted to say about the whole issue that you brought up about people talking about the veil being thinner regarding all the demons and that sort of thing. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. It doesn't get thinner, but what it does do is that people pay more attention to it, generating more power, making it easier for spirits and what have you to get through it, or for people to look back through it.
So it basically falls down to global consciousness in a sense.
Yes.
And that makes complete sense.
You guys basically just took my question.
Oh, gotta come up with another one. Okay, Dave, let's go with your first question of the night.
All right, I think this is the best question of the night so far. Absolutely. So, my Halloween tradition, I'll take the little guy out trick-or-treating, and of course afterwards I will, check all of his candy. And I am sick and tired of getting those powdery rockets. You know the ones I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They're in a little roll. They're about 2-3 inches long, and they're all little pieces of powdered candy squished together. And realistically, I think what they do to package them is they just scrape colored drywall together and press it all together and call it candy. They're the absolute most horrible candy on the market these days. So my question is, why is it only that women like those candies? Because they are terrible.
Well, I can tell you wholeheartedly that's where you're a little bit mistaken.
I highly doubt it. They are
tough. I like them.
Are you calling me a woman?
Well, that was what I was thinking.
Pretty much.
I happen to like them.
Disgusting candy. They are a disgusting candy.
That's what I say about chocolate.
Oh, wait a
Okay,
minute
so
now.
Dawn, I'm confused. So I've never heard of rockets. So Dawn is saying rockets are the same as Smarties?
No, not even close.
They're closer
I've never
to
heard-
Sweethearts.
To what?
They're closer to the Sweethearts.
Yeah, like the Sweethearts or those tart things that you could get.
They're sweet
You know,
tarts.
they're just absolutely horrible. Basically, it's like compressed powder that is crunchy.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you took a good sharp blade and started rubbing your paint off your walls, it comes down in little, flakes and everything. You could crunch that up and squish it together and become a rocket. They're absolutely horrible.
Yeah, that crap tastes like chalk. I know what you're talking about now.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
I think it's chocolate with sugar.
I really got to ask how you figured out it tasted like chalk. I mean, what were you doing chewing on the chalkboard for?
Well,
you know what? When I was a kid, I think I tasted chalk, but and so that that flashback comes to me.
I think we all did.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're criticizing those, but what about those bags that the people buy of the mixes of candy that have the gum that's just slightly softer than gravel and has no flavor, with the 5-year-old hard candy garbage in it?
Yeah.
You're comparing Sweet Tarts to those?
I'm not saying those ones are good. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But somebody has got to get rid of that damn Sweet Tart garbage because it is horrific, man. It is horrific.
Then get rid of the other stuff, too.
Coke addicts will literally put that underneath a rolling pin just to crunch it up to snort it. It's terrible.
I'm sorry. When you chip your tooth on a piece of gum, that gum is way worse than Sweet Tarts.
Oh, yeah.
That's dollar store candy.
So let's modify this question, because I like your question, Dave. So what's everyone's favorite Halloween candy? And what we do, what I take up in the mountains with me, I grab that grab bag that they sell for like $9.99 at Walmart of all the lollipops and Tootsie Rolls and dots. And I talked about that on SOAR last night, actually. That's what I gave Bigfoot. Now, here's what I do with what we do with our kids. In downtown Mount Vernon, they actually shut off the street. And all the store owners from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. open their stores and actually come out on the sidewalk. And we're talking 200 to 300 kids and their parents walk the entire length of Mount Vernon all the way around. The cops are there passing out glow bracelets and everything, stickers and badges. And I mean, our kids make out like bandits. Then we go to a little place called Big Lake. And that's where I grew up. Now, I don't know. The people up there, they actually pass out full-length Snickers bars, pass out bags of money. I mean, they take care of the kids up there. The fire department's up there with a tent set up for coffee, cider, and donuts and everything. And it's a cool little community. So, what's your favorite candy, and where are you going to take your kids?
Well, I want to hop in on this one first because 100 Mile House, where I live, there is a lot of older people. And I'm going to say God bless these people because they get it. Mm-hmm. They give out full chocolate bars here, guys. full-on chocolate bars, cans of pop and juice for the kids, bags of chips. Like, the people here do not go cheap on the candy. It is really, really cool. So I try and make sure that the little guy gets as much as he can, and then we play a game when we check the candy. It's 1 for him, 1 for Dad, 2 for him, 1, 2 for Dad, 3 for him, 1, 2, 3 for Dad. So I just have to make sure that his candy is good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Got to make sure to sample it.
Exactly.
In other words, you take the kid out to make sure you get your candy.
Oh, I never said that.
Okay.
Okay,
so I know I've got kids. Dave's got kids. Keith, you're sending your child to his mama's.
Yeah.
Everett.
My son. Yeah, I've got a son and a stepdaughter.
I thought so.
But they're in their 20s. They will not let me take them trick-or-treating anymore.
That's where you snatch them up, put them in handcuffs, and pretend like they're a prisoner. You dress up as a cop.
Somehow
I have to try that.
Go over well.
And Corey, I know most of your kids have grown up. How old is your youngest? Your youngest is like 18, isn't he?
No, he's almost 17. He'll be 17 in November.
Yeah. Okay.
He may or may not participate. We don't know yet, but we'll see.
Right.
And
well, what's the appropriate age then for kids to stop trick or treating?
50.
I don't like seeing the kids at my door when they're like over 14.
I was going to say 12. Once they hit the preteen, teenager, once they hit the teen years, I think they're too old.
Now wait a minute here. I think you could be 50 years old and go trick or treating if you want to. Really.
I agree with you there. From my standpoint, it really boils down to if you're getting dressed up in proper regalia and you're staying with the theme and not creating a problem, and for pity's sakes, enjoy. Yeah, the reality is you will get older. The question is, are you going to get old?
No. You know what? Age is nothing but a number. I might be 48, but mentally I'm probably about my 20s.
Oh, you young pup.
Yeah. To be honest with you.
Well, sometimes
I
might
about
5.
Yeah. Oh, I can act like a kid. Don't get me wrong.
I
take my medication.
Like a kid when I was one.
Well, then I take my meds and I'm fine. But yeah.
You know what? If my costume is good this year and I'm reasonably sure no one will recognize me, I may just go trick or treating just to do it.
That would actually be awesome.
In all fairness, Dave, you really should.
No.
Themer needs to dress up as Mothman because Mothman's been making his appearance in Chicago.
I would not make a good Mothman.
Get them red glowing contact lenses.
I'm willing to try and fly. Give me enough coffee and I'm willing to try and fly, but I would not be a good Mothman.
You want to try Rush. Try coffee and chocolate-covered caffeinated coffee beans.
I've done that.
Oh, yeah.
The Starkey of Oz. The Starkey of Oz has a question for us. What's your favorite urban legend of Halloween?
Wow.
I would say, you know what? Pumpkinhead. Who's seen the movie Pumpkinhead? And that's actually going to get to a question later on. What's your favorite horror movie? We'll get to that one. I would say Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead was the movie about a family that went to a witch and had her put a curse on the generation, and it raised up a demon that was a pumpkinhead.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that one. I haven't seen it in years.
Mm-hmm. It's an old one. It was probably 70s, which ain't that old, but it's an older one.
No, that was late 80s, early 90s, because I had a family member who, after we saw that, we nicknamed him Pumpkinhead.
That's cruel.
I I also like
this
Sleepy
head was
Hollow.
slightly too big.
I also like the Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
That would be the Headless Horseman.
Yes.
Right.
I know that it's not just Halloween that this goes by, but it seems to come out the most in Halloween. As mine's Dracula. Vampires are just, I love that. I love vampires.
They're decent people.
Are we still talking urban legends, or are we talking movies now?
Both.
No,
it's
we're
kind of
talking
both.
urban legends. Urban legends. Dracula's an urban legend as well.
Because if I had to answer it, I would say that urban legend-wise, I love going into towns and finding that one weird house where the weird people live that everybody seems to think they're the witch or the person who's kidnapped children and has them buried in their basement, or they're the spooky kind of house in town. I love going to towns and finding those little places.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my fault.
I wonder what the hell that was.
My bad.
There's something. I'm horrible.
So what about you, Dave?
I'm horrible at guitar, but there's something about just holding a guitar that just kind of gets you into the mood.
But what about you, Dave? What's your favorite urban legend?
When it comes to Halloween, it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I do this, but if it's a clear night or a cloudy and clear night where you can see the moon, I always look up to the moon to see if I can see witches flying by. I don't know why, but I always look for my ex-wife and my former mother-in-law, flying up towards the moon. Now, sometimes
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second. So, where did witches flying come from?
Catapults.
No, actually, witches they used to take hallucinogens, and I think it can go back to peyote as well. And that's just kind of going on a limb here, but the theory of witches flying, or the story of witches flying, and we do have a broom for a pagan. It's called a besom, B-E-S-O-M. And it's common. In fact, we had a pagan wedding ceremony. We actually mixed it with Christianity and pagan because we had, a mix of people there. And we actually had our wrists bound, and we jumped over the besom, the broom, signifying our step across a threshold into a new life. And basically, for a pagan with a hand fasting or a wedding, when they jump over a broom, it is basically a ceremony before your deities. Now, as far as flying on the broom, a broom is a very big tool that witches use, one for cleansing sacred space, one for cleansing out negativity. As far as flying on them, anyone else got thoughts? Because it has a lot to do with mugwort. It has a lot to do with the herbs that witches use as far as hallucination and having the feeling of flying. I think part of that goes back to. I think a part of that goes back to your question earlier, Keith, with the contract with demons.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, if you go back right into the early days of Wiccan and of the witchcraft and what have you, the thing that people forget is that when you draw enough energy, you can quite literally fly, and it was easier to do it like centuries back, where people would gather. And they could raise the witch in the middle of a circle by simple energy manipulation. Mm-hmm. And of course, with the herbs you're talking about, it made it easier to focus or easier to let the energy flow, right? And of course, having society believe more in it amplified the energy that much more readily. You know,
I don't know. I go with Dave. I keep looking to see if my ex is going to be flying by.
Well, there's a bumper sticker you guys would love on that one. It says, I still miss my ex, but my aim's improving.
My ex don't have that ability. Yeah. Anyway.
I feel left out. I'm going to have to get an ex.
That's a bad idea to set out for.
It's no fun.
I'm one of the lucky few I actually get along with mine.
Dude, I got stabbed by my ex. You don't want an ex. But that's another story for a whole nother... That's not even a story we get into ever. But, yeah, so Don brings up that witches rode brooms to steal children. You know what? Even in history, I don't know of any witches that were known. And so talking about the witch burnings, you know what? Most of the women that were burned during the witch burnings weren't even witches. They were actually people that the church wanted the property of. So the neighbor got a vendetta, or somebody was supposedly sleeping with somebody's husband, and they went to the clergy and said, "Hey, they're a witch," and they would, without asking questions, would just snatch them up and put them through so much torment, turmoil, that they finally said, "Yeah, I'm a witch, fine," and there you go. Most of them, I think. Say again?
They tortured them until they admitted being a witch, at which point they burned them.
Yeah. So even with the witch burnings that you hear about in history, I'd say maybe 2 of them might have actually been witches. Maybe. And most of the witches that were actually practicing were your herbal people. They were the woman that you went to for a recipe or for a medicinal tea or something like that. That was a witch. And they were a witch.
Or the midwives.
Yeah, or the midwives. But, you guys saw our altar in the house. Most witches actually are very herbal. They work with a lot of herbs, a lot of stones, and are very magical in their practice.
Well, that was just it. And a lot of the time, it was either somebody was upset with them or it was a land grab from somebody. I remember, in my case, I actually remember being a warlock. And a warlock, quite frankly, is simply a witch working for the government.
Okay, let's talk about warlock. These are all questions I get all the time. A warlock is... If you look at the term warlock, a warlock is an oath breaker. So back in the old times, when covens were secret, they had oral stories, or they didn't write anything down because, they would get burned, or they would get persecuted. So most of those stories were oral. Now, if they did, they had what's called a Book of Shadows, and that's all the coven secrets. Now, the one that went and broke that vow, or that contract to keep everything quiet, became a warlock, because a warlock is by definition an oath breaker. Now there are pagan traditions today, more in the Norse, in the Norse traditions, that still use the term warlock for a male witch. But for all terms, a witch is a witch, whether they're male or female.
Absolutely.
I'm a witch. I'm not a warlock.
Yeah.
That's just one of those things I have to clarify, because I get asked, "You can't be a witch. You're a warlock." No, I'm not a warlock. Don't ever call me a warlock. Now, if you're a Viking or a Norse tradition, you might be a totally warlock, because they still use that term.
Yeah. Well, that was just it. Like the way I always understood it, and especially given my memories, a warlock, and having that explanation that it actually translated into codebreaker, would explain entirely why warlocks were associated with working with the government. We went out looking for the witches. It was a question of finding out who was practicing witchcraft, who wasn't. I was just a little bit of I had a different view on what my job actually was. because in most cases, if there was a problem, you go, especially if somebody wanted the property, right? Accuse the person of being a witch, and that's it. They're dead. And it wouldn't make any difference because, as you know, the trial was a little lopsided. Try and drown them. If they drown, they obviously weren't a witch. Sorry, we'll bury you in a Christian, in a Christian cemetery. If you didn't drown, then we'll burn you at the stake. Either way, you're pretty much hooped.
Yay for options.
There's still a question coming up by Snarky. Didn't witches lure kids through songs into the woods? Now, I think a lot of these stories that people hear about the evil witches were actually rumors that were spread out by the church. And, it all comes down to competition. And it's just like Butch was talking last week about the werewolves and how the churches would go out, hire a murderer to go out and kill a bunch of people, slaughter them good, and then say it was a werewolf. Go out and kill a wolf, bring in some hair, and it brought more people to the church to line the coffers.
Yeah. The scary part was when they put that kind of thing out there and found a real one out there.
Mm-hmm. But it honestly, and it goes with the witches too. A lot of that is rumor that was spread by the church because they wanted to bring everybody into their fold. So let's make the old wise woman over here in the woods out to be, an evil witch, and all these kids are disappearing. And well, who's really kidnapping them? Not the witch.
Okay, gentlemen.
Yeah, exactly.
Just so you know, we got about a minute before we go to break.
And
let's hear Dave play some more.
Yeah, Dave just sitting there quietly, twiddling his thumbs.
The stupid mic button on my cell phone. It's kind of ridiculous right now because every time I go to use it, it takes me 8-10 tries to try and actually get it off. So that's about all I got. We need Markham here to actually light it up.
He's actually possibly coming in.
I hope so.
Hey, I know he's in the room. I got a kick out of the comment that he made. He made a comment in the chat room there. What is it? Didn't these idiots figure out that if they were real witches, you wouldn't be capturing them?
All right, guys.
No.
We have got to go to break, so when we come back from break, we will continue our round table on Halloween. Tonight on our panel, we have Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, Everett Thiemer from The Encounter Online, R. Keith Andrews from the ET Connection, and myself, Corey Reese, and Eric Cooper of Forest Moon Paranormal. Join us every Saturday night at midnight Pacific Standard Time. You can find us on Spreaker.com, SpacedOutRadio.com, and KTLK The Fringe FM. Check out Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott 5 nights a week at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and Spaced Out Weekend with Dave Cruz Saturdays and Elizabeth Anglin on Sundays, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also check out KTLK The Fringe FM with shows like Lighting the Void with Joe Roop and a plethora of other good shows. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Would you like someone you can trust to look into it? We have just the place. The SOR Sightlines Report is the place for you to find answers. Whether it's Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman, ghosts, aliens, or anything strange, the Sightlines Report will get you connected with one of our expert researchers to find out what's going on. All of your personal information is kept 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report, a place for you to find the answers you need. Only at spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome to Spaced Out Saturdays with me, Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange. Our weekly feature on spacedoutradio.com will take you around the world discussing everything from the paranormal to the latest conspiracies from the top guests in their fields. We won't leave any story uncovered. Spaced Out Saturdays at spacedoutradio.com starting 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed on tonight's show by tonight's hosts and guests are not necessarily those of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays, Spaced Out Sundays, or spacedoutradio.com. Listener discretion is advised. And now back for hour number 2, we have Corey Ruiz, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal, and S4. You can find Forest Moon Paranormal on Facebook. And for more information on S4, visit spacedoutradio.com. And now, here's Eric Cooper and Corey Ruiz.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. For those of you just joining us, tonight we are talking all things Halloween. On our panel, we have Dave Scott, Everett Thiemer, R. Keith Andrews, and just joining us, Eric Markham. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Hi, how are we?
All right. We're going to kick off the second hour. I know, Keith, you haven't asked your question yet. Let's jump on your question.
Well, I was actually, it sort of ties Halloween and the whole UFO issue all together. But I'm wondering if anybody or what you guys think about the reports that increases not just the issue of abductions and what have you, but the whole issue of an increase potentially in the whole paranormal phenomenon thing.
What, the Halloween aspect?
If that time of year increases people's experiences or reported experiences.
Well, I gotta jump on that for a second. In that we've seen in that it's not so much a rise in the abductions as it is a rise in the abductees finding out about Forest Moon and coming. We've got 3 different abduction cases we're pending on right now, and I mean for that many to come at one time, you know that does seem to be an influx. But I also look at it as these are abductees that have been abducted for a while, nothing new, and are just now asking help about it. Do I see a rise in it? Like I said earlier, not really. Anybody else?
I don't know if I can answer that because that's I just don't know what my thoughts are on that. I've never really given the idea of tying alien abductions to Halloween much thought, but I probably will now.
Yeah, you gotta wonder, you know, the kids that disappear, or, you know, it'd be a perfect time because you've got a certain amount of malfeasance out there, you know, people that are going to prey on kids this time of year, and if you wanted to abduct somebody without much notice, Halloween would be a pretty good time to do it.
Yeah,
or just getting out and walking around and looking at the people, because it's like, you know, what kind of reaction you're going to get? It's like, whoa, that's a heck of a good E.T. costume. You know,
exactly.
And I think it comes. I think it comes down to the fear factor that comes with Halloween and the history of Halloween. You bring in the fear factor, everyone's already, you know, paranoid. You know, it brings in that factor of it. Again, you have global consciousness of the veil, as well as, oh my God, what's going to come through the veil? And, you know, it's easy for predators to come out because you compare it to 4th of July. You hear explosions that are fireworks. You can't tell if they're gunshots. Perfect time for someone to shoot somebody because everyone's going to think, oh, it's just fireworks. Same thing with Halloween. Oh, well, look, there's a clown. Or look, there's an alien. Anyone can put on a costume at this point in time and, oh, they just came back from a Halloween party. Never mind, they might be a pedophile or they might be a serial killer, but no one's going to give them a second look because they just kind of fit right in. And like you said earlier, is it really blood or is it stage of blood? You don't know. So I think part of the problem with Halloween, though, also that it was 2 different celebrations. One in which they were trying to protect themselves from what they pursued were evil spirits that were abroad, and then the other was more of a celebration. It's like Samhain and All Saints Day or something. It's like the 2 traditions got rolled up into one and called Halloween or All Hallows Eve. Yeah, they did. I believe it's Mexico that has All Saints Day as well. Yeah. I can't remember it exactly. I think that's so you have cross cultures that are that are getting mixed up.
All Saints Day came from Ireland as well.
Okay. Right.
So the tradition was to dance around a big bonfire as a community, dressed like, you know, ghastly things. So the ghastly things that were actually out roaming the earth at that time would see you and as a human say, they're part of the club, leave them alone, and, you know, and go find the people that were outwardly weren't made up to look like demons or whatever. And if you look historically, you know, if you didn't know if you didn't have a religion per se, before religion was developed, this is the darker time of the year. It's starting to get darker. So
a lot of times they were actually doing these celebrations to appease the gods and goddesses to sustain them through the dark point of the year.
Yes.
Yeah, isn't that where Yuletide come from? That was like the longest night of the year, so you had this huge log that would burn and give warmth, and you could cook on all night through the longest night of the year because it would be looking up from them.
Winter solstice is actually when the light starts getting longer again. It's the longest point of the dark point of the year, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And then you have Candlemas, which is in February. Now, Candlemas is a big candle, obviously, going by the name, a big candle celebration. It's not so much a celebration as it is in February. They are actually running out of their food that's sustained through the winter, and so they all light candles to encourage the sun to come back. Same thing with the Yule. You've got the Yule log. You've got what they call the Holly King and the Oak King battle, and some pagan groups actually reenact that, and that's where the Holly King and the Oak King are fighting over the light coming back. So, getting back to Samhain, or Halloween, because that's what we're talking about tonight. Maybe we'll do a Yule show in December. Trick-or-treating, actually, if you look at the Irish, the kids would dress up in a costume. It wasn't, I want to be a cop, and so I'm going to put a cop costume on. They'd actually just dress up, and they'd go door to door, and they wouldn't ask for candy. They didn't get candy. They got, I believe, money. And it was to appease the spirits. And originally, the pumpkin or the jack-o'-lantern is actually an American tradition, because originally they actually carved turnips in Ireland.
Turnip spice.
Yeah.
Well, it might require a little more than pumpkin does, but
right.
But if you look around at different cultures throughout the world, you see that just about every culture has some type of holiday type thing where they dress up as spooks and spirits and everything else. I mean, you look at Mexico and they've got the Day of the Dead. Definitely a little bit different than Halloween, but a lot of the same premises.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've got Pacific Island nations that they actually every few years they dig up they dig up the corpses, take them out, brush their hair, walk them around town like they were they're like they're still alive, but they've got like a really bad skin condition.
Is this anything like
they don't ever really leave? They're
That
what?
Kind of like a weekend at Ernie's?
No, I mean, these people are, like, decayed, pretty gross. But, I mean, you see these people, it's a family event. They all get up, they'll dig up a patriarch or a matriarch of their family, and, they'll comb what hair's left, put them in new clothes, clean them up, and take them for a walk around the town.
That seems like a public health problem.
It seems like I'm going on vacation that week, and I won't be around for the celebration. To me,
that's just nasty.
Now at least we know where the Addams family came from.
I love the Addams family.
Yeah, I really thought that I had been switched at birth. I thought Pugsley was supposed to live in my house, and I was supposed to live with Morticia and Gomez.
Okay, now I've got a question, kind of a rant, and I want you guys to interject here. But I think my big pet peeve about Halloween when it comes to the paranormal is you see an influx, and I've seen it here locally, of all of a sudden you have these ghost-busting teams that want to jump up, crawl out of the woodwork, and start a group. Because it's Halloween, and, there's ghosts at night all over a Halloween season. And it really pisses me off, because guess who gets to clean up that mess?
Yep. I know exactly what you mean there.
So, what's your guys' I want input. I know Dave's sitting here biting his tongue. Don't bite your tongue. Is Dave still with us?
Yeah, Dave's still here. My phone cut out, guys. I apologize.
Okay.
Fire away,
did you hear
Dave.
Did you hear the comment?
It cut out for about 20 seconds.
So do I need to rephrase? Do I need to redo my rant?
If you don't mind, I'm real sorry. I was hoping you wouldn't have asked me.
Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. I have no problem ranting because this is my pet peeve. It's Halloween, Halloween season, and we see an influx here, even locally, of all these dumbasses that want to come out of the woodwork and start a ghost busting team because hey, it's Halloween and the veil's thin. And we get to go out, go ghost busting, and charge a bunch of money to go out to a haunted location and bring the public. And guess who gets to clean up their mess? What's your thoughts on that? Ghost hunting teams that come out because it's Halloween, and you know what? They're probably going to fall off the wayside after about a year.
Are you talking brand new teams? Or are you talking teams out there currently that are trying to kind of promote what they do?
I'm talking brand new teams.
Yeah, you know what? It's a bad time of the year to do that. It really is. You know, it's just something where, you know, they're trying to capitalize on instantaneous popularity, you know, and I don't really like that kind of stuff. You know, I mean, you know, I've been very critical about paranormal teams in the first place and the do's and don'ts of it. And when I see things like this happening where it's just for instantaneous publicity, it just makes me shake my head. It makes me shake my head. And Don is asking, why is it a bad time? Well, it's the same thing as they say to people buying pets for Christmas presents. Whether it's a puppy or a kitten or a rabbit or whatever it may be. You know, I mean, it's a great present right off the bat, but you're not sure if the people who are taking part in it are actually going to want that pet. Same as the paranormal. When you have a bunch of people coming into Halloween trying to make a name for themselves just because it's a glorified holiday, that's where it gets dangerous because you don't need that sort of stuff, you know, being promoted along Halloween. Now, I can honestly say, I mean, hey, if you're an experienced person or experienced team and you want to have a tour of a haunted location because it is Halloween, why not? I would do it at my museum. Absolutely, right. I would. And the reason why I would is because any money we get is going to be donated right away to the museum, and it's a good way to raise funds for it. But
you see, here's the difference between you and some of these other teams. You actually cover protection. You actually let the public know the risks of coming into the haunted location. Absolutely. These other teams don't. These other teams, exactly. these other teams,
do you know
don't
that
believe
not,
there's anything.
See, what we do on our tour is before we start our tour, we gather everybody around, and we will tell them point blank that whether they are skeptical, non-believers, or are believers, it doesn't matter what their personal opinion is, this is dangerous. So if they start feeling sick, they start feeling angry or agitated or nervous, you have to let us know ASAP so we can get you out of the building. And I would say we haven't gone through a tour yet where we haven't taken somebody out of a building.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about your team, too, is you've been in that building and done enough tours that you know most of the spirits that are going to be agitated. You already have, you know, somewhat some of the personalities that are still there and know who's going to get irritated, who might attack somebody. I mean, you're going to always have new stuff, potentially, but you do know who's there to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely, and we know the hot spot areas. That's the main reason why when we do our tour, like our last tour that we had a week ago, we had 54 guests, the most guests we've ever had, and only 3 of those out of those 54 were actually returnees from previous tours. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think the photo had a lot to do with it that we got in the barn, you know, because that was printed in the paper, plus the popularity of it happening where people are having experiences that they no longer would. So this is why we have to, before we start the tour, go through a protection. We have to.
Right.
Oh, and yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And that's why we tell people point blank, you know, there's nothing to be ashamed of. If you are feeling sick or jittery or angry or whatever, let us know ASAP so we can deal with it. Don't be a tough guy here. There is no, you know what I'm saying? Because there's always that one person, male or female, who wants to be the tough guy. I can take it. I like the paranormal, you know, and we caution them on that. And we say, don't do it. Don't do it. It's not a place to be screwing around, whether you're a believer or not. Well, and we give examples of what's happened.
The thing people forget, and this is why I'm really happy you do tell people that there, Dave, is whether they believe in the spirit or not doesn't matter. What matters is whether the spirit believes in them.
Exactly.
No, and that's exactly it. Like, for instance, you know, when we are in the post house, our most haunted building where Willie the ghost is, and everybody who's heard me has heard me talk about Willie. You know, we literally have another spirit down there in the downstairs that we do not know what he's about. We really do not know what he is about. He'll come out and play. He will, when he does everything when he feels like it. We know it's a man. He won't give us his name. He will not give us what he's about, what he's there for. There are people who go in there who feel, you know, absolutely agitated that there's something wrong in there, and there are people who go in there who will feel absolutely nothing. And we cannot figure him out. He will not give us any information. He will not play the game. And, you know, when you have situations like that, what he does do, though, is mostly to men or lesbian women who look more manly, he will actually drop cobwebs or what feels like cobwebs on their heads or faces. He's done it to me twice.
Ooh, that's evidence.
Yeah, so, I mean...
Markham. Ectoplasm.
Yeah, but when you wipe your hand, you know, if you wipe your head or your face, there's nothing there. Right?
Right.
Nothing at all. No residue of any kind?
Nothing, buddy. Absolutely nothing. You know, and the one time when we did the firefighters tour, I went into the building the time before, or the day before, and I told all the spirits in each building, I said, we're doing a fundraiser for the fire department. They saved us from the forest fires, which I'm sure that they saw. And I said, we're going to have a lot of people here, and we'd really appreciate it if you come out and hung out with us. And the first group we put in there were 8 people who got hit with cobwebs in that room.
Nothing like the ghost stepping up to give you a hand.
No, absolutely.
Right.
The problem, you know, and that's not the problem. The problem is, you know, we can't figure out who he is. Is he benevolent? Is he a trickster? Is he just playing jokes, or is there something malevolent about him? Right? Well, we can't because he's not giving us anything.
No, but you can safely say he's not malevolent, because if he were, you'd be dealing with a whole lot more problems.
Well, we've had to deal with Willie, right? So, I mean, you know, there's a lot of different situations that we have to deal with. So, I mean, do I mind people going on ghost walks and ghost tours? No, I hope they know what they're doing. But if they don't, I really hope that they take the time to make sure that their people that their people that they are touring are safe. And if they're not, they shouldn't be doing it.
Well, here's the problem that I have right now, and that is, follows just that. We have a, quote, team, unquote, around here that I will not mention a name about, that is doing, I wouldn't say that they're new this Halloween, but they are a fairly new team. And they don't really tell anybody about anything. They don't go in and talk to the ghosts first. They don't do anything. They just want to do these tours for people, and all they're going to do is create problems. One of the last ones they did, they invited a bunch of people out here to a spot locally here, and before they were completely finished with whatever they're doing, they just abandoned their group of people. Just abandoned them. And
and you're answering, Unicorn Craig's. He just asked us that, Corey.
Yeah, and you know, they've got another one going that they're doing out in a town at some haunted hotel. And the thing of it is, they're charging an absorbent amount of money to do this to happen, and they're not giving anybody any protection. I know they aren't going in and doing anything for the ghosts. It's just not a good thing. It's bad. They shouldn't be doing what they're doing.
My advice to you guys would be, instead of cleaning up the mess, blow them out of the water by taking over the tour.
Yeah, not going to do that. There's legalities there, Dave. Because I've already confronted this particular group. And the minute I confronted them about their particular legalities, all of a sudden they got their official documentation the next day, which they sent to me saying, see, we're legal. Well, if I look at the registration date of that particular document, it was the same day that I asked them about it. I also asked this particular group about a code of conduct. Oh, we've got one. Well, and we'll send it to you, but I never got it. That tells me right there, and there was a court, and that's why I don't get involved. I'm not bringing up names, but another individual that's in our team, our group, is actually related to one of these people, and it went to court, and our name was dropped in court as backing up this group. And which is why I put a disclaimer out in Forest Moon that we do not endorse any team in this county or the next two counties, but 3 teams, Mike Morin being one of them. And, I have to do that to cover our own ass. And, obviously those 2 teams weren't listed. And there's another group that's forming just this month based off that team. And so there's your answer, Craig. Yeah, there's just teams that are coming up out of the woodwork that, guess who gets to clean up the mess? Are we going to go take over their investigation? No, because that becomes a legal issue.
Well, do any of these groups that just pop out of the... I know the answer. I guess this is sort of a stupid question, but I mean, don't they at least learn by their mistakes? When I first got into this back in 93, 94, anyway, I didn't know anything about grounding. I didn't know anything about any of it other than I was looking, hanging around graveyards and looking for stuff in haunted houses, supposedly haunted houses. The typical rookie mistake and crap. I brought stuff home. Don't these people ever, don't they ever suffer? Yeah, don't they ever suffer the consequences of their ignorance? You would think, how many times do you have to get followed home by something before it dawns on you, hey, we shouldn't be screwing with this.
The problem
it shows it shows agenda. It shows motive. Motive is money. And these teams, that's their only motivation, is they're making a lot of money off this. And, are their clients going to find us? Probably not.
See, the problem that you got to look at, and it boils down to a conversation we had a while back about the professionalism side of it. I personally don't see it when somebody says they're a professional, whatever. My outlook on it is it's not a question of how long you've been doing it. It's your behavior, it's your focus, whether or not you're behaving in a professional fashion. And when you're dealing with these people that are, like the one that abandoned their people, you got to look at that and go, okay, these people, never mind whether it's a free country and you're allowed to do it, never mind whether it's legal, but from a moral standpoint, you have to really question just exactly what they're planning on, what they really are going to end up dealing with. I mean, better them than me, personally.
Here's the thing, though, Keith, because sure, they look bad, and they're going to get a really bad reputation, but when you have groups like that, it gives the whole paranormal a bad reputation. I mean, even in this particular court case, the judge even looked at these two people and said, really? You are having a paranormal territorial fight? I mean, and when a judge brings that up, seriously.
Yeah.
Why is there even a paranormal territorial debate when the paranormal is so unpredictable? How can there be a territory?
Yeah, how do you have a territory? How do you have experts in a field that has there's no textbook, there's no standardization? I mean, I'm an expert scientist, but I am not a paranormal expert.
No.
I don't see how you can be.
Thing.
There's not going to be an expert Bigfooter or an authority or anything like that until a live specimen is captured and can be studied. Then the team that's going to study that cryptid that's now a recognized species is going to be the experts. But until that, we're all just like enthusiasts.
Yeah.
We like it. We try and learn something about it, but we're not experts.
No, I consider myself an adept. Simply put, the array of information that I deal with is a little on the abnormally wide side. But when people ask me, am I an expert at it, I'm like, I'm an expert at one thing, and even that I'm a little faulty on, and that's being me. But when you start getting people that are claiming to know exactly what they're doing and they make such rudimentary mistakes, Dawn was asking earlier in the chat room, she asked about the rise in the sale of Ouija boards, which falls under the same category as from a cleanup mess, where you guys deal with cleaning up the ghost hunt mess from amateurs. I end up dealing with the people that play with Ouija boards, and whoever the genius was that decided to turn it into a toy. Well, let's just say my outlook is a little less than amicable.
I blame the media, not the media so much, but entertainment and the movie industry for the Ouija board rise. I mean, look at the movie Conjure, for example. You would think it would scare some, but then you got the other ones going, oh, that looks cool. So, Halloween comes along where, the mail's thinner, let's go get a Ouija board. And, you go to any game department, Walmart, Target, whatnot, and they got a plethora of Ouija boards there.
Oh, they do?
So,
has anybody ever done a study of whether the Milton Brett, like if you have an older wooden Ouija board, handmade, whatever, one that was actually created personally, as opposed to one that's mass-produced in a factory in China, is there any difference in the way that, say somebody who is an adept with one, do they get different results depending on which one they use?
Absolutely. I can tell you that from practical experience. It's very much like you can take the race car driver, right, and give them a Honda, and they will drive it fabulous. But you give them a Maserati, and they can drive it a whole lot better. The older Ouija boards, the one drawback with the older ones is they've already got a certain set of patterns to them. You know, they've already been, if you will, personalized. A brand new Ouija board is as effective as an ancient one, but it does take a little bit more to get it, you know, it's not broken in, so it takes a little more to get it up and running.
So you have to kind of tune it up like with a deck of tarot cards. I've got my Rider-Waite deck, and I'm keeping them in my presence, trying to get them charged up and get the energy into them.
Yeah.
Or what I've been told. You know, I can't prove that they're any different after I've slept with them under my pillow for 6 months than they were when I bought them.
Can any of you explain why? Can any of you explain why a Ouija board is any different than any other tool, from a pendulum to a digital camera to a digital recorder, that a paranormal investigator may use? Why is it
so? It's a matter of focus. I think it's a matter of focus. You've got that planchette.
No, I mean, why do Ouija boards have such a perceived bad reputation when essentially it's just another tool comparable to any other device?
That's easy. The movie The Exorcist. Because Reagan got the Captain Howdy through the way the story unfolds in The Exorcist. The little girl got in touch with the devil through the Ouija board. Personally, I think the devil probably has more on his plate than screwing with a Ouija board, but that's how the story went, and that's where it got its evil rep.
Let me clarify something for Don, because it's not the same as tarot. A Ouija board essentially opens up when you open up that channel, just like you open up a channel with spirits with a tarot deck. But the Ouija board opens up, I guess you basically bring up the bottom dwellers to the Ouija board. It has to do with vibration and energy. Now, when you're opening up that channel with tarot decks, you're bringing up a higher vibration. Those are messengers. Those are a different kind of spirit. You will not bring up a negative spirit through a tarot deck. And that could be debatable some, because some have had a negative experience and got, the devil card. The devil card or the death card is not a negative card. It is a symbol of rebirth. It's a change in your path. But
right. It means change or stagnation if it's reversed.
The other issue around the other major difference I find, because I've worked with a lot of the various different tools, and that's just where I am. But the one thing that a Ouija board has, and it doesn't happen often, but people have had it move around and what have you, where you can't really explain it. The one that I found out with the Ouija board that I've never heard happen with a camera or with any of the other tools. When I first started playing with Ouija boards when I was a kid, there were 5 of us in the room, and I watched the planchard come off the table and bury itself in a concrete wall. I've never seen a camera do that.
No.
And
that brings into question Steve Huff and his whole accusation or comment about how his spirit box opened up a channel and brought in demons. And well, I've never heard, or I guess the perfect example would be the movie White Noise. White Noise can open up a frequency and bring stuff in. I believe that. But when it comes to just a straight digital recorder, it's not bringing through white noise per se. You're simply recording the voices that are around you.
A friend of mine brings up a good point. She's saying one of the big differences between some of these others and the Ouija board is that the Ouija board actually uses words. There's nothing unequivocal about it. It's going to say yes, no, or it's going to spell out something. So there is a difference between that and a pendulum. Pendulum's binary, but with something like tarot cards are up to interpretation, but a Ouija board spells it out. So there's a major difference between all the different types of divination. A Ouija board actually doesn't leave it up to interpretation. You get a yes, no, or you get some word that, points to an answer.
Yeah.
Well, and something.
That's one of the biggest things that create, as you are opening that connection, and if you're not handling it properly, and this is the thing, is when they sell the board at the stores, the boards don't come with warnings. They don't come with instructions per se.
No.
And here's the thing too: is that a Ouija board? I mean, there's people out there that use these things on a regular basis and never have a lick of trouble with them because they know how to use them. Because it is a tool, and any tool that you use, you should know how to use it. You should have instructions or be taught or something to where you know how to use it. It's just like going out and grabbing a chainsaw. If you don't know how to use that chainsaw, the chances you cutting your leg off go up to about 80%. But if you're taught how to use that chainsaw, and have the instructions, that chance goes way down. And you have the correct protective stuff, that chance goes way down. It's the same type of thing. So basically what it comes down to is a Ouija board is a tool. If you don't know how to use it, don't play with it. If you do, fine.
And if you'd like to get to use it, find somebody that knows how to use it safely.
Exactly.
Right.
Let's face it. I've been cutting myself.
And you know what, guys? On Spaced Out Radio on Halloween night, we will actually be doing for the second year in a row, a live Ouija board session with Karen Dahlman, who is one of the best when it comes to Ouija boards and what goes on with them and protection and everything like that. I am of the opinion that we have too many people, due to too many nightmarish rumors out there or movies, who do not believe that the Ouija board is something that should be used by anybody. And I disagree with that. I do not see the difference between using a Ouija board or a pendulum or dowsing rods or haunted ghost hunting equipment or anything along those lines. Even using a psychic medium has its dangers. And I really don't see the difference. Yes, you have to be trained in everything, and you have to use protection, and you have to be smart. I think where a lot of times we see these nightmarish situations happen with the Ouija board is when people are all stoned up or drunk, and especially young kids around Halloween, they sneak some of Dad's hooch from the cupboard, and they go into get the Ouija board, and they don't know what they're dealing with. They really don't. And I think that's where we see these nightmarish stories happen, rather than seeing the benefits of the communication that a lot of people are getting from them.
No, completely agree. Completely agree with
absolutely.
that one.
If you're not taught how to use them, it creates so many added problems. And the number of times that I've had to deal with people and help them clean up a mess because they didn't use a Ouija board properly, or they didn't, they just walked away and left the door open. You might just well leave it. I look at it kind of like, if you've got an explosives cabinet, leave it unlocked and tell people to go play with it. You're going to have problems.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we all agree on, is that we all have our various opinions of good or evil as far as the Ouija board goes. I think we all agree that probably best that they aren't marketed as harmless toys.
Absolutely.
Now here's,
absolutely.
And here's the difference, however. Would I take a Ouija board into a paranormal investigation? Hell no. Because now you're taking a tool that opens up a lower dimension or a lower vibration into an already potentially haunted location. I would not. Now, an EVP, an EMF meter, something like that, sure. But something that's actually going to open up, no.
No, but I will suggest this. And I do agree with you, taking it inside the building is absolutely, shall we say, not a good idea.
Right.
But taking it outside of the location and using it at a distance, if you're, again, make certain you know what you're doing with it, you got the appropriate protections in place. But doing it from outside, ground zero, if you will, is actually quite safe to do it. Because then you're only going to grab one of them at a time, usually. You take it inside the spot, and
you're opening up a portal.
Although in my case, I might do that just because I'm curious, but I'm a little twisted on that one.
I got to admit, guys, I have thought about contacting Karen Dahlman to get the safety of it, to take it into the barn, to try and contact that spirit that we got the photo of.
It's not a bad idea. With Karen, bearing in mind that she's got the training, right? Mm-hmm. And she's got, more importantly, the experience.
Yes.
It would, the one thing I will caution you on there, Dave, is if you're going to do that, make sure that the people you take in with her are people that know how to follow rules.
Well, Karen's in Texas, so she's not going to be coming up to do it with me, right? But I have thought about it. I have thought about it for communication ways, in trying to not so much evoke the spirits, but to try and get more clarity in the answers to what we are trying to solve. Because, like I said,
entertaining.
We have a couple of spirits in there that are very. We don't know much about them. And the other thing that we are noticing that we learned this summer is we have a lot of wandering spirits coming through there.
Absolutely. The funny thing with the haunted area is, and we found, I found this out when I was down in Concrete. Spirits don't just stay in the graveyard. They don't, it's not a question of you die and that's where you're stuck. Mm-hmm. But, going into a place like that, quite frankly, is, well, personally, I'd find it an entertaining sidetrack. I've done it before. I actually went down with a few friends of mine years ago and took a Ouija board into a graveyard. Now, understand, I've been playing with these things since I was a kid. I call it playing. I've been working with them since I was a kid. Right. But on the whole, I strongly recommend against, much like we said earlier, against taking a Ouija board into a definitive hotspot.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's kind of like taking a match into a gas plant.
What I would ask is, why wouldn't Dave, see about grabbing somebody that does astral and go in there and see if they can find out about these spirits?
That I would look at doing too. That I would look at doing too, just to see what's there, right?
Yeah, that would be a safer way, at least in my thought.
Well, moving along. Markham hasn't asked his first question.
Oh, I forgot we were. Oh, we had such a lively thing going. Okay, well, I'm going to check. Okay, what would be the value? And I've had a couple questions pop into my mind as we were talking about this. Okay. I hear it said that the Ouija board is a portal to lower dimensions. How do we know so much that it's a lower energy? And can't we direct that energy?
Well, the answer there is yes to both.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is you can actually use a Ouija board to communicate with the higher entities without any problem at all. It literally boils down to what you're aiming for. It's kind of like you can use a telephone to call anybody you please if you know their number. So when it comes to, is it definitively lower? No. the lower energies seem to be a product of shows like The Exorcist. Because let's face it, you call on an angel, they don't exactly scare the daylights out of people on the whole.
Actually, I find angels terrifying, because what did God do when he needed somebody to, like, smite or, just generally create mayhem? He got an angel to do it, because they don't hesitate. It's like, oh, you want me to destroy that town? No problem, God. I'll be right back. Yeah. They are too willing to do whatever they're asked to do without any kind of, it's like, save that human, fine. Smash that human, fine. There's no free will involved. So I find any tool that powerful that has no limits on it terrifying.
Well,
I'm much more scared of angels than I am demons.
That's honestly sort of a misconception, because it's not so much that angels do it blindly, so much as the ones that he calls are the ones that don't question. But there are a lot of angels that will, quite frankly, not exactly do things. They'll follow the guideline, but it's sort of along the lines of a what I call a good soldier. A good soldier is one that will follow the rules, but also knows how to think at the same time. Because there comes a point when the rules don't exactly cover all the options. Well,
could you take if you were good at directing the energy of a Ouija board, could you take, here's a scientist in me thinking about this. I would like to do a study involving somebody who is adept with a Ouija board going into a supposedly haunted or allegedly haunted location and getting baseline data, what's going on, that atmospherically, whatever parameters are in there that we can check. They talk about cold spots happening, or just different things. Even as far as hooking that person to a portable EEG machine, something to verify what's going on, to have some kind of tangible data in our hands. Could that be done without risking, here again, how much of the negative outcome is brought on by the operator themselves by expecting it to be negative?
And could it be done? The answer is definitively yes. You are right on your assessment, though, that the approach that somebody has, or the feeling they have, the preconceived feeling, has a great bearing on what the outcome is. Okay, if you go into a room expecting to be hurt, okay, your body will actually arrange for it. Even if nothing is going on, your mind, if you put your mind in the right state, can create all kinds of havoc. Even if
so, it's a matter of directed intent.
Happening. Exactly.
It's directed intent. You just you're using the medium of a Ouija board or some perceived paranormal appliance as a focal point.
Yes.
You could use a My Little Pony and get the same effect as a Ouija board.
Yeah, it's just harder to see the letters.
So here's my thoughts on a Ouija board. And basically, unlike your tarot cards, who open up basically just to higher vibration spirits, the Ouija board opens up a portal, period. So it doesn't matter if it's low, high, medium, or indifferent. It opens up the portal, period. And that's the big problem with it, is most of the time is that people don't understand that and don't think about that, and they don't know how to use it when they run into all these problems. So things on the other side, especially in the lower end, will take advantage of that. They're going to know that the moment that thing gets opened up, because they'll be able to see what protections are in place or whatever else is going on, or how somebody's using it. So they're likely to take advantage of that. That's the real problem with the Ouija board, is it just opens up a portal, period, versus tarot cards and stuff that open up mostly to the higher end.
Okay,
Right.
well, what about the Ouija board inherently opens it up with a less, I don't know, without a filter, where a tarot card, you're saying a deck of tarot cards tends to go positive or higher level inherently. What about the Ouija board makes it become more of a catch-all?
Because it's a physically interactive one, and the second you open the Ouija, what you end up with is it's something the spirit can physically interact with, and the negative or the more aggressive spirits are more inclined to go after something they can actually physically control than something where they just are able to talk.
So it's a matter of ease of utilization.
Yeah. Or
they can influence the planchette easier than they can a spread of cards.
Yes.
Well, that kind of makes sense, because if you do it right, the way you shuffle your cards and everything, they would have to put a lot of effort into getting the cards to line up the way they wanted, where the planchette, apparently it's pretty easy to either control a human to push it where they want to or push it itself.
Well, be aware too, though. It has a lot to do with intention and energy, and what your motivation is. Because you can use a playing deck as a tarot deck. You don't have to just run out and buy tarot cards. You can use a playing deck.
Yeah. All the 52 card deck is the original playing deck that, if I understand my tarot history, the original playing card deck was 78 cards, like a tarot deck. You just had the major triumphs, which that word got bastardized into trumps, but it's the major arcana. You take death, the Tower of Destruction, yada yada. You take those cards out of the tarot deck, and you have your standard playing cards, where coins became diamonds, clubs are wands, cups are hearts. Yeah, so basically it's a playing card deck is a tarot deck without the major arcana in them.
And that is exactly what it was. The playing cards were literally a reduced size. When the tarot became such a negative thing after the gypsies got a hold of it, it was reduced in size to the tarot to the playing cards.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that gets removed on the playing cards from the tarot is the tarot throws the pages out to get to so you've got a standard deck of playing cards.
So let's see, what the Jack would have been you've got the Jack, King, Queen. The Jack is the Queen. Okay, I thought...
No. The Jack is the
Knight. Or the
Knight.
Jack is the... Okay, so it wasn't... I'd always heard that the Knave is what became... Well, that's right, they had Knights, too. But it seems like there's a Knight of... I don't think they threw them out, because if I'm thinking my Rider-Waite, there's a Knave, a Knight, Queen, King of the different...
Yes. In the tarot, that's right. But in the
Knave is
cards,
the Jack. Okay.
The playing cards removed the page to make so that the page was taken out of the tarot to reduce.
Okay, so the Knave is gone, and the two Jokers are probably the remnants of the individual suits. What would have been their page or Knave? The Jokers became that. And then you have the Knight, the Jack is the Knight. That kind of makes sense.
I'm trying to remember I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. There's a bigger version of the Ouija board. It's actually a room that you build, and I'm drawing a complete blank on the name of the thing.
Psychomantium?
Thank you very much. And that makes the Ouija board look like a kindergartner's toy. the psychomantium doesn't create a gateway. It doesn't create a portal that the energy can come through. A psychomantium is a whole lot more dangerous because it creates a physical interface.
Okay, gentlemen, just so you know, we got about 2 minutes left of the show.
And as always, it flies when we're talking.
Doesn't it, though?
That was a quick 2 hours.
And, if you have more Ouija board questions, by all means, Spaced Out Radio is doing Ouija boards Halloween night. So don't miss that show. And excellent roundtable, folks. Next week, we're doing Forest Moon Paranormal's Halloween show. So don't miss that one. And if you're local, again, go to the Border and Pestle Apothecary next Saturday from 1 to 4. And it'll be a paranormal Q&A. And thank you, folks, for being on the roundtable tonight. It was an awesome show. And no, Markham, we're not going overtime. I had 2 migraines back-to-back today. I'm tired. I know Corey's tired. And, yeah, I hope you all learned a lot tonight. It was a great show. Always fun.
Absolutely. Thanks so much especially to the listeners.
Oh, yes.
Indeed.
All right.
We have an awesome audience.
Okay. Well, I would like to thank our panel here tonight. I'd like to thank Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, Everett Themer from the Encounter Online, R. Keith Andrews from the ET Connection, and Eric Markham, our FMP scientist, for joining us in. Join us next week, Saturday night at midnight Pacific Standard Time, as we have our FMP team show, where we will be discussing astral paranormal investigating. You can find us on Spreaker.com, SpacedOutRadio.com, and KTLK The Fringe FM. I would also like to thank all of our listeners, because without you, there is no S4. Good night, and remember, keep your eyes to the skies.